right, come on guys, come on in. Hi, I'm James, a photographer and online media personality in Atlanta, Georgia. I live and work in my Castleberry Hill studio, and in my spare time, I love to cook. But being that I'm one of nearly 25 million Americans who lives in a food desert, it can be a challenge to find healthy and fresh ingredients in my neighborhood. This show is my way of sharing some of my favorite home cooking tips to eating restaurant quality meals on a tight budget through recipes I've learned in my travels and also my West African and Southern American roots. This is The Counter. Hello, I'm James Holder, and I'd like to welcome you back to The Counter. And I'm super excited to have my friend Arshel Bernard, aka Shelby, joining me fresh from Liberia. So of course, I couldn't welcome one of my best friends back into the country without cooking one of her favorites, and my favorite as well, jollof rice. One of the main components of this dish is a stock that you're going to start with, and it's going to be the flavor base for your entire meal. So what I want to do is take my large stock pot, I'm going to bring it right up to a rolling boil. And to that, I'm going to add my pre-seasoned marinated meat. So it has been marinating in my finely chopped onion, garlic, and also Scotch bonnet pepper. I'm just going to start bringing this into my pot and just want to dump it all in. You're starting with just filtered water, of course, and just to kind of show you, this is what this meat looks like after it's been sitting and tenderizing in that puree. We want to get all the pepper, all the onion in there as well. I'm going to add a little bit of bouillon. Now, bouillon is one of these ingredients that is a staple in Liberian cooking, just to add a lot of really rich flavor to everything that you're making. Today I'm using a product called Better Than Bouillon. This is a reduced sodium bouillon product. And so anytime, again, we heavily seasoned our beef that went into this, we heavily pre-seasoned our chicken that went into this dish as well. And so we want to make sure that we're being mindful of the amount of sodium and salt that we're putting in. So to this, I'm going to add 6 teaspoons, the equivalent of 6 bouillon cubes, which is what I would normally add to a pot this size. I'm just gonna let this come up to a boil, and then I will be getting started on our other components. We started this earlier with water and our pre-seasoned beef. I'm going to add to this pot a can of tomato paste. It's already been cooking for about 2.5 hours. I'm gonna let this simmer down for at least another 30 minutes while I start working on the other components of our dish. Now, I've already pre-seasoned this chicken. You really want to have well-seasoned components as they go in. And then you also really want to make sure that your oil is seasoned as well. And this is like one of those sort of African mother tricks. Just plain vegetable oil. You don't have to use anything expensive here. I'm gonna bring it up to about medium temperature, medium heat. I might turn it up a little bit. And the base of this dish is going to be like an onion puree. So I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping on my onions and get those ready so that they can go in the blender and be ready when I'm ready to start my actual dish. I could use maybe 2 large onions. These onions that I have are just more medium sized. So I'm just gonna sort of use all 3 of these onions in my puree. To this, I'm gonna add 1 Scotch bonnet. It is a part of the flavoring component and base for this. And I'm going to go ahead and check on my oil. The method for cooking chicken here is a little bit different than what you typically see with fried chicken. We are gonna fry the chicken, but it's not gonna be battered. It is not going to be coated in any flour. And because what we're really trying to do is season the oil with this and then add more sustenance. I'm using drumsticks here. If you're doing this for a party, it might be better to use wings or drumettes for people to take smaller portions and not really feel like they're having a whole full heavy meal. This is going to be served as an entree though. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out another big component of this dish, which is our vegetables. I typically go for a pre-packaged combination. It has a mix of carrots, long green beans, corn, and also peas. It's from a frozen state and I don't want to add it to my dish frozen. So I'm just gonna run a little bit of hot water over it until it defrosts, and then it'll be ready for my dish when I'm ready for it. I've got some nice sturdy tongs. You absolutely need these when you're dealing with any hot grease so that you can have a good reach on it and you're not worried about burning yourself. In this particular application, if it's cooked a little bit over, if it's like a hard fry on it, that's fine. But you definitely don't want undercooked chicken at all because you won't really have an opportunity to fix it later. Once our oil is ready, I'm going to immediately transfer it to a larger stewed pot and then begin simmering our onion. I'm going to place all this right into our container. And now I might have to do this in multiple batches. And this is 40 ounces or 5 cups of stew. I'm going to add 5 cloves of garlic to this mixture. That way I know I'm going to have a very well seasoned and flavored dish. Mind your ears. So I'm going to let this keep going for a few moments. I want a fine puree on this. And this is ready to go. Our chicken's still going mightily, and it's coming together. It's going to be, again, like I said, about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to clear a little bit of space over here because I want to talk about another big component of this dish, and that is the rice. Rice is easily my favorite food in the world, but I think a lot of people don't know how to make rice appropriately. So I definitely want to take time and do an appropriate demo on how to make the perfect rice every single time, and that's what I'm going to start on now. I'm going to start with water. All we're really doing is bringing our rice up to a boil, a rolling boil. We're going to then rinse it while it's hot, bring it right back up to a boil, and set it to the side on medium to low heat, and it will be ready right before our eyes. It's really quite magical. I'm going to turn the heat on this front burner all the way up. I am going to pour in the amount of rice that I want to make. So I'm going to start pouring until I see it reach about the midway point on this pot. I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to stir this rice up. Now you see how it gets cloudy in the water? All of that is starch that we want to be removing when we cook this. So I'm going to let this come back to a boil. And I'm going to put my rice back, and I'll be ready to start rinsing our rice in about a few minutes. You see our rice is still going well. I'm going to go ahead and flip our chicken while I'm over here, and then I'm going to rinse our rice. I'm going to keep that going. I love the coloring on this chicken. That's exactly what I'm going for. And again, this is a specific way that we make chicken when we're putting it in stew dishes for specifically African cuisine. So do not email me talking about that's not how you make fried chicken. Where's your batter? Where's your coating? I'm not interested because that's not what we're doing today. We're doing something specifically to season our oil and to get our chicken for our stew. And I need both of my heavy duty pot holders, and I'm also going to use this towel to rinse our rice. And we just want to fill the pot with water, get all the cloudiness out. By the time this is done, I want to be able to see our rice plain and clear. And this is going to go for about maybe 3 cycles. For this particular dish, we're using a golden style parboiled long grain rice. Now this is similar to the style of an Uncle Ben's rice. When it comes to Liberian cuisine, that is the standard for me. That's what I always use. The Uncle Ben's brand can be very pricey, but there are alternatives. And so I definitely want to make sure that when you go out shopping, you want to be cognizant of the type of rice that you're using when you mix it in for this particular dish. So after about 3 or 4 times, this is looking free and clear. What I want to do is add enough water to this pot to where it covers the rice by about ½ an inch. This is the method, and this is the key to making your rice perfect every single time. I'm going to bring this rice back up to a boil, and then once it comes back up to a boil, I'm going to reduce this heat from high down to, I'll call it 9 o'clock on your dial. So that for me is a 3, but it might be lower for your stove. Do a quick stir on our stew, see how that's going. And this is just perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I'm going to go ahead and taste for salt at this point. It should cut with this spoon. It does. It passes that test. Wonderful. It's got the right amount of heat from that one habanero. The salt content is good. And I might only, I'm happy with the salt, the level of salt in this. It is exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to cut this off, and it will be ready when I'm ready for it. Our rice is back to a rolling boil, so I'm going to just give it a quick stir and put our lid back on. And most importantly, I'm going to reduce the heat on this down to our 3. You can check it in about 12 minutes. It should take about 20 minutes total to steam this whole pot of rice. My rice has been going for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to just take this lid off and check it for doneness. Stir this. I kind of want to lift up that rice off the bottom of the pot, make sure that it's not getting too much heat. Take my fork. Let's see what this is doing. It's perfect. If it needs a little more water, add some water and let it keep steaming. Right now, that rice is absolutely perfect. It's exactly how I want it to be when it goes into my stew. In my large Dutch oven, I'm going to transfer this oil. I'm gonna pour this over right into our pan. And you see that oil is considerably darker than when it started. I'm gonna bring that up to medium heat. Bring it right back up to temperature. And what I want to do is add in our onion base to our seasoned oil. So you want to be careful. If the oil is super hot, it will sizzle and splatter, and I don't really want that. I might chop up just one more onion. I probably had a little bit more oil in there than I wanted. It's okay, you can just adjust it. I'm gonna add the remaining onion to this. I want this onion to simmer out until effectively I don't hear it anymore. If you rush this step, you will have very oniony tasting rice, and you don't want that. You have to let this do what it's gonna do. My onions have been going for about 25 minutes, and I know that they're ready because they just smell sweet. I can see that they've browned a little bit. There's a little bit of fond forming at the bottom of the pan. Those are all good notes that let me know that this onion is ready. This is ready for me to just add in my beef stock and my stew beef. I'm gonna take it right from the pan. I'm gonna pour this right over into this pan. It's gonna splatter a little bit, that's fine. So this is all going to marry for just a little bit. I'm stirring it around, but you can see how this is all coming together, and it is looking exactly like I want it to look for our jollof rice. I'm gonna let this stew together for maybe about 10 minutes before I add in our next set of ingredients. And to our stew base, we're going to also add our fried chicken. We're gonna also add our mixed vegetables. Here I have my rosemary and thyme. They're both here, present. And I'm just gonna tie these into a little bouquet garni. So this has been simmering for a while. You see it's coming together, and it's a little bit volatile right now, so I'm gonna lower the temperature on it before we add our next components. I'm going to add to this our mixed vegetables, and I strain these out from the freezer. And then I'm just going to add in our bouquet garni as the last step, because I want to just bring our chicken back to the party. You see this crispy chicken, you can hear it. It's exactly what I want. I'm gonna place this right down in our pot. Oh, there's a knock at the door. Must be my friend Shelby. I'm gonna go ahead and let her in. Shelby!
Hey!
Good to see you.
Good
I'm
to
glad you
see
can make it.
too.
Welcome to the counter.
I'm so excited to be here.
For those of you who don't know, Miss Arshelle Bernard, affectionately known as Shelby, is the fabric empress. This apron that I have on now is a reversible original, haute couture original from her to me. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
you look spectacular.
thank you. I prepared a little something for you that I think you'll appreciate. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection to quench your royal fire.
Yes.
Completely free from infection, to be used at your discretion.
Oh yeah.
Waiting only for your direction. Your queen to be.
That was amazing.
Okay. So welcome back, Shelby. I am so happy to have you here.
Look, that was really meaningful. Like top 3 things that's ever happened to me in my life.
Oh, really?
Probably.
Tell me a little bit about what you do.
So I work at the Bombshell Factory. I'm the proud head bombshell in charge of the Bombshell Factory, and we train women.
No, wait. Now I see how you just threw that HBIC in there.
Yeah.
We see each other.
Exactly. I love that because it's kind of like a code, right? Only certain people would be able to pull that HBIC out.
Well, you.
So if you know, you know. But we train women from backgrounds of poverty to sew contemporary African clothing that we then sell online through our website, at pop-up shops, and in our store in Monrovia. So everything that's made, when people order it, it tells you the name of who made your garment. Like, do you remember who made your apron by chance?
This was made by Beatrice.
Okay, so Beatrice is our very first bombshell, actually.
Awesome.
She is an Ebola widow. When she came to us, and she's my same age, and she has a daughter she had a daughter at age 13.
Oh my.
So, you know, she's just learned how to read, learned how to write her name for the first time last year working in our factory. So it's more than just teaching people how to sew clothing, but it's also teaching them how to build a better life for themselves. I'm interested in the different, I like to, everywhere I go, try their jollof rice. You know what I mean? Because even though there's like a big jollof rice war with the whole West African region,
Jollof wars.
for me, I just like rice. So if you season your rice, like, you're pretty good with me. But then I see things online about like adding curry to jollof rice. It don't make sense. So yeah, okay, good.
We have our rice that's perfectly cooked, and I set it to the side.
Okay.
It is right there.
Okay.
And then I've got my stew ready. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this and fold it in to one smaller dish. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because jollof rice it's an ordeal. It takes many hours to prepare this, but I don't necessarily wanna eat it all at the same time.
Right,
And so this is gonna allow me to freeze some of my stew for when I'm ready for it later on. I don't like to freeze rice. I feel like it's kind of...
Fresh rice is every time. That seems like a cool way to guarantee, that you don't waste your food.
Right. So we're just gonna take heaping spoonfuls of this rice and put it at the base of our pan. Our pan is just on low heat. This is only gonna need to go for maybe like 10 minutes just to have it all come together. And some people do cook their rice in the stew. I'm not that gifted.
My mother cooks the rice in the stew. So I'm interested to see how this compares.
And so I'm gonna start with this, and I'm gonna start mixing this in. You can hear it's already like sizzling together.
I do see all the essential elements of a good jollof rice. I see the mixed veggies.
Oh yeah.
I see the beef, and it's nicely cubed. You know, you're getting my seal of approval so far.
The fresh rosemary and thyme is something I do.
Okay.
I go with the fresh because it doesn't have to rehydrate at all.
Okay.
But both are good, both have the same flavor.
I think a lot of it also comes down to access, which is basically what your show has been about, is access to certain food items. So it's like, if you don't have access to, or even know what fresh rosemary looks like in your supermarket or your neighborhood store, they have the dried seasonings. They sell those in even just seasoning containers.
I definitely want to continue to explore and discuss like that access issue, because I think we just sort of coalesce around bouillon. We coalesce around using, more sodium-rich ingredients. And so even today, like, I use bouillon, but I use better than bouillon, which is like a reduced sodium way to just bring it down. You gotta season the hell out of this.
You do,
because obviously we're splitting what we're cooking in half with, the rice. I tasted the stock, the beef stock, and I definitely tasted that pepper in there.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, where the pepper?
I only put 2 Scotch bonnets in the whole pot.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to drop one in on that pot.
It's like...
Drop it on there, let it steam up
Oh,
good.
Lord have mercy. Okay. For the culture.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it for the culture.
Just drop it on top of that, let it steam up. I'll just... a little bit on the side,
Now, I keep mine in the freezer.
Yeah, that preserves the heat.
And you just,
Yep.
And really what I found is that if you buy them and they're, sometimes you have to let them ripen up just a little bit.
Really?
Like, if you buy them and they're not super hot, if you keep them just out for like a few days, then when they get super hot, then you put them in the freezer.
Okay,
and then it keeps it at that level.
By
the time that Scotch bonnet is like steamed through and no longer frozen, I'll know that this is done.
Yeah.
I would have had like a little salad prepared to the side and all this other stuff. Jollof rice needs no accoutrements. It is in and of itself a complete experience.
Exactly.
You've got your meat, you've got your rice, you've got your veggies, you've got your spices, your seasoning.
If it's a Liberian
Oh yeah, we
because
gotta. Yes.
Ghanaian jollof. Look, I don't mind it because it tastes like Mexican rice, but they don't like to put meat, vegetables, all those stuff. That's why Liberian jollof rice is the perfect jollof rice. It's because it has everything that you need for a complete meal. It is a complete meal. It is not a side.
It is a main dish.
And jollof rice is a star. It does not need any sides. It's a star. So just leave it like that. That's why, look, everybody, I hope that you get an international group of viewers for this episode because they will see why Liberian jollof rice, even though, because we're a small country, so a lot of times in the war, people don't even, in the jollof war, people don't even consider us.
Right.
But it's like,
no, they be leaving us out.
They leave us out because Ghanaians, there's so many more of them. There are so many more Nigerians. So they leave our little country out, but it's like, look, we've mastered it, okay?
Right.
You can't leave us out just because we're fewer than you. The day you put tofu in your jollof rice, I can't.
I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
I will not.
Let us not evolve to somebody's like, I'm vegetarian, but I really love jollof rice. This ain't for you.
Now I gotta put one of your friends on blast because one time Shelby was telling me about one of her friends who she was gonna cook for, and this friend said, "Oh, I like your cooking, but can you make it without onion?" I'm not gonna say who it was, but I'm just like,
that's blasphemy. I put onion in everything.
But no, it's 6 onions in this pot. No, not even for nothing. There were 2 onions that I put into the marinade, the stew beef. Then I tried to be conservative and did 3 onions in my blend.
It doesn't work.
And it wasn't even enough.
Onion is as vital as the bouillon, as the rice in the jollof rice.
It is. It's key.
And I think that's across all country lines, actually. That might be one of those things you can say, okay, all countries' jollof rice has onion. But I also do think that because you have to cook the onion so long, anybody who's ever had jollof rice, like if this friend in particular, I want to say they love jollof rice, they don't even know it's there.
They don't know it's there.
But it's so vital for the flavor, but you're not having onions as if it's on like a burger.
Yeah. You know? Our jollof rice is ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you for being patient.
Tiffany had to say she ready.
So I'm just gonna put a piece of chicken on this plate. I'm gonna then go around and just grab heaping spoonfuls and fill up my plate. And then we're going to dig right on in. And I just want you to be brutally honest with me.
Okay.
Does this jollof rice
smells perfect.
match?
I definitely appreciate the fresh herbs that you used in here. I'm just gonna grab that little Scotch Brite.
You're actually gonna put it on your plate. I ain't mad.
That chicken, I'm looking at it.
Actually.
Yes.
Thank you for being patient. I want you to tell me what you think about this.
And thank you for slaving all day over this for me.
2 days.
Okay.
You know, I seasoned my meat yesterday.
Okay, so, wow.
It's been in the works.
Let me get a perfect fork with the meat, some veggies. That's a really well-seasoned jollof rice.
Awesome.
I love the herbs in it. I love those fresh herbs. Wow. It does taste like you've been seasoning it for days. It is so good. Very, very rich jollof rice. Listen, wow.
Thank you. Wow.
This is amazing. I appreciate it. It's not too tomatoey. The herbs, that is definitely something that I'm definitely gonna take home to my family and be like, hey, y'all should try it like this. Just see what you think about it.
It's gonna be controversial because like my mom, when I made it this way, my mom was like, I love the fresh herbs. She loved it. My sister Navia
was like, what you doing in our
class? Like, what is this fresh herb thing?
Yeah.
The spirit of Liberia. It's funny because like as a concept, the nation of Liberia was formed when freed American slaves went back to Africa. So this was the Back to Africa, original Back to Africa.
Yeah. Before Marcus Garvey even.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to see what could happen if black people from America went back to a land and then did it on their own.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been perfect.
It has not been perfect.
You know,
but people forget that the United States of America almost became 2 countries.
Right,
Do you know what I mean? So no country is without its interesting history. You know what I'm saying? And when we are really looking at Liberia, we're less than 20 years out of war, less than 3 years out of Ebola. So it's gonna take time. for us to become anything to brag about again. But I also think we shouldn't sell our achievements short.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we're not the only ones who have fought wars and come back. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm proud to be a part of the rebuilding effort. Yeah.
And I remember a moment that after going and then the Ebola outbreak happened and you were there. I want you to tell me a little bit about that and what it felt like for you.
Ebola was terrible because we didn't know much about it. Is it airborne? Right. And at that point I had my little boutique, which was, you know, doing well and I was enjoying my life, but that's the thing. You can't have a selfish business. And my boutique was very selfish. It was for me because I wanted to be the fashion girl somewhere. So I got that through the boutique. My mom was like, "Nah, you should probably
make your way."
Just make your way. Like, there's no real reason. So for me, I left because like Liberia to me is so much fun, and it just stopped being fun at that point. When there's curfew, when people are too scared to be around each other, so we're not having a good time. It's like, so I was fortunate enough to be able to leave, and I kind of looked around and I was like, what do you want to do? How can you do more than just be the cool girl? Because that means nothing, right? So in what way are you going to give back? And that's how I decided on the concept of the Bombshell Factory. Was I could not just be the only one who benefited from my business. And as a boutique, I was going to be the only one to benefit. A few girls would have very cute outfits, but that's not enough. So I was like, you know, there are other women in Liberia who maybe also want to work in fashion. And sure enough, I found some who love their jobs.
Nice.
So that was wonderful for me. And it's like, you know, some of them lost loved ones during the crisis. Others, you know, Blessing we have, who she really likes to work in fashion. She was in a training program that had to get shut down because of Ebola. So it's like you see your dream slip out of your hands for something that's completely not your fault. So, you know, I don't take lightly that I've been able to run away anytime the going got tough in Liberia. But I know for that reason I must go back and play the long game of trying to help rebuild.
Wow. That's fantastic. I'm so inspired by your spirit of generosity and what you choose to do every day. What would you say to someone who might want to follow in your footsteps? Not necessarily on the fashion side, but somebody who wants to be a business owner, wants to be a boss, but needs to have an understanding that success isn't necessarily just about the bottom line. It's about...
Yeah. You know, it's been very challenging because when Donald Trump was running for president, I always was like, there's no space for self-serving businesses or we'll have a world full of Donald Trumps. And for him to actually become president, like it kind of negates the whole thing, because I think president of the United States of America is one of like the most successful positions that you can, that's the most successful end goal. But look at the quality of our world because of it. He has not contributed anything beneficial to any of us. There have not been any good feelings made. We're fighting with each other. We're building walls against people who gave us guacamole. Like, it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? There's so many things about it that are
taco trucks on every corner.
Exactly. I wanted the taco trucks on every corner. That's what I wanted.
I still want the taco trucks on every corner.
So I think that there's really no. You look at the quality of the world and the things that you would want to see done differently, and you have to go every day. Like, how can I help get us to that point? You really have to think about it every single day. How can I help get us to what I would rather, the environment I would rather live in, the society I would rather exist and help build? It's not one where I can even afford to have a self-serving business.
Right. I just want to thank you so much again for just sharing your story, allowing me to share this recipe, this version.
Thank you for this meal
with you. And I know you've traveled a very long way to be here, and I just welcome you back to the States for the holiday season. You're welcome back at the counter anytime you choose to join us, and so are you, our viewers out there. Thank you for joining us at the counter. I hope you will like, comment, share, and subscribe. I want you to retweet this and repeat this, and make sure to watch future episodes of The Counter every week at www.thecountertv.com. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Counter, where we made one of my family favorites, jollof rice. I hope you will try this recipe at home and let me know what you think about it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I want you to retweet this and repeat this. If you like what you saw here, make sure to tune in to future episodes of The Counter, as well as checking out past episodes at www.thecountertv.com. And lastly, if you really want to support, I'd love for you to become a producer level sponsor of this show. That's right. Everyone who donates $100 or more becomes a producer level sponsor of this show, and that allows me to buy things like ingredients for our demos, pots, pans, anything that we need to produce this show. So I appreciate your support, and you can do that by using the link www.paypal.me/jkh2. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you next week.